Oh, the family's been obliterated through my lifetime. I mean, it started even when I was a child. With the introduction of television. I remember that when we first got our television, and suddenly we weren't playing with our parents anymore. Suddenly my parents weren't doing much except sitting and watching this box in the afternoon. And the parents were replaced by television. And once you replace the parents and you start raising the cost of living, so you get to a point where both parents have to be working, then you disconnect the children from their parents. The children get into the education system, they get programmed by that. And we lose that loving, nurturing environment, that nurturing family environment that we had, through the introduction of television and through the introduction of all these digital mediums to replace the things that we normally do as a society, as human beings. We've had so many things happen to replace us, to replace our parents, to replace real education, and to replace friendships, real eye contact with people. Now it's all texting and all this sort of stuff. So all of this stuff serves to break down people's connection to other people. Like 10% of communication is nonverbal. I mean, 90% of communication is nonverbal. Only 10% of it is verbal. So it's to do with how someone looks and the way they're holding themselves and the tone of their voice and the look in their eye and all sorts of things when you communicate to people. When it's just texting, you lose all that. You take everything at face value. You take everything too seriously, we've been brutalized as far as the family unit goes. And the breakdown of the family unit is integral to mind control. It's integral to the system, because in breaking down the unit, you remove that nurturing environment, that people's need for attention from their parents, their need to be loved, their need to belong to something. That you take that away from them, and they don't even know you've taken it from them. They're just born into this world. They're plonked in front of a television, given an iPad, and away they go. And then they grow up seeking attention, seeking instant gratification, wanting to be listened to, wanting to put their face out there on Snapchat or Instagram or whatever. And it's all about seeking attention. Me, 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 me. Why? Because they never got that from their parents. And so it becomes all completely superficial. So no one's really prepared to listen to anybody else, unless it's some idea they can steal from them to promote themselves, so they get the attention, because they want the attention, because they didn't have it. And we can say, oh, this is bad, Generation X, just an attention-seeking generation, but they've been programmed to be that way. They've been trained to be that way, manipulated to be that way. Of course they're that way, because they have to be, because of what's been done to them. But they don't even know that's what they're looking for, because they don't know what's been taken from them. I said in the last show, I was saying it's like if you could only see in black and white, and you didn't know that there was color in the world, you wouldn't ever know what you were missing. You would never know, because you have no reference point. The kids have no reference point for what it is like to be a real human, what it is like to live in a nurturing, loving environment. So they don't know what they're missing. They don't know what's been stolen from them. They don't know how this technology they've been given is virtual. It's not real, and it's replacing what is real in the world. And this all leads to this point. It's all been done very, very deliberately and by design. And you can't look at this and say, oh, this is just, maybe we didn't know it was going to lead this way. Of course they knew it was going to lead this way. It all follows the same agenda. It always does. It all leads to further control, the further removing of people's cognitive function, the further need for the nanny state. People need to be told how to do anything because they can't think for themselves anymore. And all of this is designed to prevent them being able to think for themselves. You create this schism in them right from the early age through the breakdown of the family unit, and that disconnects them right from the beginning. So they spend their lives searching for something and they don't even know what it is.
So what responsibility does the older generations have in helping informing the younger generations of maybe what they don't know? Like you said, I mean, maybe the older generations did get to experience what healthy families look like, at least some models of it, or some, there's been good things that have been taken from our societies. And what responsibility do the older generation hold?
Oh, we hold a pretty huge responsibility, in as much as we're the ones who let it happen, or our parents are the ones who let it happen. Like even in my age, I wasn't responsible. It was already happening when I was born into it. I was able to see it, and I was able to live my life kind of on the outside of it and see it all happening. And I tried to wake people up to it. And even now, with the older generation, you try to tell the kids about this sort of stuff, and they won't listen. The best thing to do is to lead by example. Show them that there's a better world. Show them there's a better life. Show them that there's actually stuff outside. You don't have to be on your iPad all the time. You know, teach them how to communicate with people. Teach them about the importance of communication. Always love them. Always be there for them. Always be there to support them. Don't throw your kids out of home as soon as they're old enough to work and go and create an income the way we do in the West. This sort of thing, you know, the separation that exists now between the younger generation and the older generation, it's almost impossible to tell the kids what's going on. We have to somehow take steps to stop our governments going in the direction that we're going, and we have to lead by example in what we are doing. That's really the only way we're going to reach them, I think. You can't tell them, they won't listen. They have to see it for themselves. Yeah. You know, and the whole exaltation of youth, and you could see this back in the 60s as well, the way the generation gap, and even pop music, you know, bands like The Who, you know, I hope I die before I get old, you know, all this sort of stuff, my generation, all this sort of stuff. The generation gap, there was never a generation gap. This was a psychological operation that was planned to create a gap between the generations, to stop children listening to their parents. Oh yeah, the old fuddy-duddies, the wrinkles, they don't really know what's going on. We got all the new tech, we got all the new stuff. The old folks don't know. We're young, we know what's going on, and it's all about being young and beautiful. You know, all the TV shows, everything. How many TV shows do you see? They're all young and beautiful. Even if there's an old person on there, they're just an incidental old person that comes in to make a little wise saying now and then. You know, it's all young and beautiful. It's all the exaltation of youth, which is designed to separate people from their parents, to make their parents seem irrelevant. You know, and the more tech you bring in, you know, you bring in more mobile phones and smartphones and this and that, and the parents don't know how to operate them. And so the kids look at their parents as if, oh, you're stupid. The folks don't know anything. It's all design. It's all been done by design. So it's very difficult to even get the kids to want to pay attention to what the parents are saying. Even if the parents want to call a bit of a family meeting or have a Sunday dinner where we all sit around the table and talk, the kids still can't wait to just get away, run off with their friends and post their latest pictures on Snapchat.
What do you have a camera in my house? Jeez, man.
Yeah, you know.
We have teenagers, so yes.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, you know. Yeah. That's the thing, you know. So it's very difficult to reach them. You've got to try to lead by example in what you do. And people of our generation, especially my generation, I mean, they're waiting for people like me to die off. You know, because that's why they don't harass too much. They just wait. We'll go away in a few years. We won't be here. So then it comes down to the younger people, and the more the next generation, they kind of have less of a connection to what it once was. They've got less of a reference point. Like, you'd have less of a reference point than me, because it's become less free as the situation goes. As time goes on, it becomes less and less free. So the kids that are born now and the kids that are starting school now, when they leave school in another 10 or 15 years, they're going to have absolutely no reference point for what freedom could possibly have looked like. They're not going to know what a world that wasn't digital even was, you know. So that's the situation that we've got. That's why it's important for people to, you know, people of my age, people of your age, people who are active in this movement, trying to wake the world up, to be actually active as well in the real world, and be getting out there and sending letters to their government, going to these public meetings and standing up and saying things and questioning these people in the right way. You know, things like the Empower movement, I can't stress this enough. What they've done with the liability action they're doing against smart meters is working. You know, and this is something that empowers people. You know, they actually stopped smart meters in Hawaii with that movement, with the liability notice. So, and this can be used for everything. You know, if you're going to cause harm to me, then you're going to be liable for that harm, because that's all governments do, is cause harm. And if we approach them in that way and ask them why they are so intent on causing harm, they have no way to answer these questions. You just got to ask the right questions in a public enough way. And people might say, oh, well, you're questioning politicians. That's not going to get anywhere. But I guarantee, if you go to a public meeting where the Prime Minister or the President or someone is there, and if you get a chance, even just 1 minute or 30 seconds to just get up and ask the right question in an eloquent enough way, you know, like as to why they are causing harm with their actions and why all their actions do cause harm, you know, this wakes people up. It plants that little seed in their minds, and they start thinking about government a little bit differently. Like, I don't expect to get any results from going and asking these questions to politicians, except maybe getting thrown out of the room. But still, it wakes everybody in the room up. Yeah. And then they go home and they go, hang on, what that guy said, that made a lot of sense. Why didn't that politician answer the question? Why did they get thrown out? So it plants that seed in their minds, and if you're always doing it from the correct moral perspective, you're not there to attack anybody. You're simply pointing out the obvious and asking, well, hang on, why are we tolerating this? Is this what we employ you to do? Can you explain to me why you shouldn't be held in abuse of the office that you hold? Because every legislation that you're enacting is causing harm to the population. How is this what we employ government to do? And how is this serving our society in any way? Please explain it to me. Because as far as I can see, you should be removed from office and charged with abuse of office, So just say that, and people are going to go, well, actually, yeah, what he said is right, And it's not a matter of finding a way around it and putting a Band-Aid on it. It's a matter of identifying the fact that the legislation you wrote is causing harm, and you need to be held accountable. We're not after any appeasement or any petitions or any revamping of the legislation. You've committed a crime. You've committed a crime, and you're going to be charged for it. You're going to be removed from office. You're going to be held in abusive office, and you're going to be put in a jail somewhere. And if you're not, then there is no law. And you've just shown us that there is no law. There's only one law for the politicians and another for the people, and that's not what we employ you to do. You say something like that and they have nowhere to go. You get up and say that in front of enough people, say that in front of a rally of 2,000 or 3,000 people, and you're going to, at least half of them are going to have a little penny drop in their mind. Those sorts of things make a difference, So Get active. Don't just be on YouTube, get active. I mean, I travel the world. I do everything I can. I meet as many people as I can. I go to every rally that I can. I do everything I can to try to make a difference and to plant that seed in people's minds, to lead by example in what I do, and that helps. I mean, that's what we can do. We can all make a difference, but we've got to get involved. Mm-hmm. Don't just sit back and wait for the newsletter.